The truth about my marriage is it didn't fall apart overnight. It kind of just changed quietly. Now, I want to be clear before I continue with this video. This video isn't about blaming, exposing, or even sharing private details because this is my life that I'm actively living right now. This video is about my experience and my growth as well as a woman and as a wife. My wife and I have been together since 2018. We've been married since 2023. So this year, 2026, will mark 3 years we've been married. So before we even get into marriage, let's talk about what people assume versus the reality of marriage, or most people. Most times people think that marriage just ends with one big moment, or that somehow love just disappeared, or people decide to stay because they're weak. But in reality, sometimes marriage doesn't just end, right? It kind of just pauses, or it takes a shift. We've been together since I was 22, since she was 22. We'll both be 30 this year. We've changed a lot. We've had a lot of experiences, and there's a lot built into our relationship that has even made it what it is today. The truth is, I realized I had been changing, and I didn't stop to even ask myself if I was growing with myself or if I was just surviving. When it comes to my marriage, obviously we are living together. Most marriages do live in the same household, not all. With myself being in this transition of life, right? We sat down, we had a full conversation, and we chose not to rush to have a divorce because that is so permanent. And we recognize that we love each other. We recognize we want to be together. We recognize that this is something that we want to continue. We also want to be sure about the direction that we want to take when it comes to making such a huge life decision, or life altering decision as big as divorcing or just no longer deciding to be together. Should we just separate for a while? Like, there's different questions that come into play, mainly because we do have a kid together as well. So we want to make sure we're not just staying together for the kid. Just to kind of talk about what I'm learning in this season right now that I'm in, with just transitioning to my 30s, my last year in my 20s, just kind of focusing on what I've learned. And what I'm focusing on just in general is enforcing those boundaries, right? You have to have boundaries no matter what the relationship is, whether it is your spouse or your parents or your children or your friends. Like, you have to have some type of boundaries in place because it's just needed and for anyone's mental health, right? I don't want people overstepping those boundaries because you have those in place for you to protect yourself. I also want to focus on communicating and learning how to effectively communicate. Sometimes I get a little rowdy. Sometimes I do a little hollering, and that's because I'm triggered. So recognizing those triggers and understanding that the way I communicate with my partner is important, right? I need to not be spazzing out just because I'm mad or feeling a type of way. I definitely want to focus on being mindful and intentional about the way I communicate with my partner. And then slowing down and keeping it a stack with myself, having some type of self honesty, and recognizing that it's okay for me to just chill for a second and digest and process whatever it is that I'm going through or whatever it is that I'm experiencing in that moment, and being real with myself, not creating this narrative that's not real, right? That's not really happening. Taking it for what it is, taking life for what it is at that particular point, and deciding, do I want to pursue this or do I want to kind of fall back and allow myself to feel? So ultimately, this season is teaching me how to listen to myself instead of ignoring discomfort. In my 20s, I might have liked to be kissed a certain way, or I might like to be touched a certain way. And recognizing that maybe now at this age of 29, I no longer like being kissed like that, or I no longer like being touched like that. Understanding that that's okay. That doesn't make me a bad person or a bad woman or a bad wife. That's just the reality. That's just my reality. What this season is not, this isn't like a breakup announcement or a divorce announcement or anything like that. It's more so a becoming season, becoming that woman that I want to be, becoming that wife or that person that I want to be. That's ultimately what my biggest focus is on. Sometimes love doesn't need a dramatic ass ending. Sometimes it needs space and clarity and time, and that's okay. Allow yourself to process so that you can avoid having issues in the future or feeling resentful or remorseful about the decisions that you've made. Sometimes you just need that space. Sometimes you just need that time. And that doesn't mean that you want to leave per se, but it's more so pausing and allowing yourself to feel these emotions and feel, what is it? What is it that I'm feeling right now? I'm sharing this because I know I'm not the only woman navigating complicated love with intention. If you're in a season of becoming, welcome. This is Becoming Naj. Until next time.